Welcome to This Is My Architecture. I'm Santiago from AWS, and today I'm joined by Russ from InfluxData. Russ, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about InfluxData? What do you do?
Yeah, InfluxData is a modern platform for time series data. So any data that comes in with a timestamp at a high velocity, we store and process really quickly.
Okay, great. So what do we have here today?
Yeah, so InfluxData has two offerings. We have an on-prem version that our customers can run, or we have a SaaS offering where we run their cluster in the cloud in AWS. Perfect. And so we're going to walk through the SaaS offering today.
Great, great. So I see here we have some ALBs on the left-hand side. What are these used for?
Yeah, so when we get a new customer, we actually spin up a new instance of our entire stack in the cloud, and we add additional rules into our ALB, right? So now users can come in and they can view Chronograph, our dashboarding tool, or they can use the API to write data directly into the system.
Okay, so what made you, actually choose ALBs over, let's say, ELBs or NLBs?
Yeah, ALBs are really useful because we have more control over the routes, and so because we're routing customers to either their dashboard or directly to our APIs of the platform, we use ALBs to define all of those rules.
Great. So you mentioned here that you spin up a new cluster when a new customer signs up. So these seems like they're single tenant clusters. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So each customer has their own stack and components of our entire infrastructure.
Great. Can we dive deeper, maybe a little bit on the actual components that are running in a cluster?
Yeah. So each of these instances is container based. So when we have a single EC2 instance, we have our main InfluxData node, but then we also have smaller containers which run things like our Telegraph reporting agent, or our DNS service, or our Automatron, which is our provisioning system, all running within EC2 instances.
Great, great. So you're using containers, and you're orchestrating these containers yourself, for the most part.
Right.
Great. So what happens here when you need to do some backups? If a disaster happens, and let's say some of the data is lost, what do you do for backups in this case?
Yeah, and that's the great thing about S3. So we store backups hourly for our customers, all into S3 buckets, and we have that rolling for a period of time. So customers can go back in time to the last usable data set if they need to.
Yeah, so you're also taking great advantage of the durability of S3 as well, then.
Exactly.
Great. So what happens, for example, if a customer, maybe a new version is released, and since you're running these single tenant clusters, how do you get a customer upgraded to the next version?
Yeah, so when we release a new version and customers want to test it out on their production cluster, we can actually stand up an entirely new cluster with the new version of the software, and then we can do restores from their backup. And we also add rules so that data is written to actually both clusters, right? And that means when data is written to both of the clusters, that means that users can then test and verify that all the upgrades are working properly before switching over. And they do this without impacting their production workloads at all.
Well, no downtime. That's great for customers.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit about things that you're going to be doing for monitoring, or what you currently do for monitoring?
Yeah, so we're a monitoring platform. So I mentioned that we have our own containers. So one of those containers is Telegraph, which is our collection agent. And that's actually sending stats to a centralized monitoring cluster, which we host internally.
Great.
So all the data is streamed into there, which lets us keep track of our customers and their infrastructure and make sure that they don't run into problems.
Great. Yeah. So you're doing all the monitoring. You're doing a lot of the container scheduling yourself. Are there any future plans that you have to evolve the platform?
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at ways to take advantage of some of the new container architectures out there and the scheduling systems. So in our next iteration, we may look at those auto schedulers.
Great. It sounds pretty good. This looks like it's a platform that has a lot of progress, and it's actually continues progressing. Thank you for joining us, Russ.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching. This is My Architecture.